to another edition of Nile Cruise brought to you from Nile TV International. My name is Sharif Touni and I'm joined today with Rasha. Hello,
Welcome.
Rasha.
Good morning, Sharif Touni. It's a beautiful day and wonderful afternoon, actually.
Yes.
Today we have a lot of interesting segments. So would you talk to us about the first segment, please?
Yes, we'll definitely be discovering within this edition a lot of aspects, you know, the secrets of ancient Egypt and a lot about that. So we'll be having like an in-depth discussion all around the new and latest discoveries. But also be having more than that too.
Yes, also we'll be discussing the role of the Egyptian abroad in promoting tourism in Egypt.
Yes, exactly. And we'll be joined with Dr. Mahmoud Azmi. He's the Vice President of the Union of Egyptian Expatriates. It's going to be a very nice and interesting topic to be discussing about the Egyptian expatriates and more around this topic, but later. Now we'll be moving to a short break and returning back with more of Nile Cruise segments, so stay with us.
البشر هنا وسابوا دموع وذكرى وتاريخ مكتوب لنا.
مطرح يا أحلى البلاد
بالشمس والأمنية
والوحي والذكريات
والناس الطيبة. الحرب كانت هنا
والحب كان هنا،
لكن اللي فضل لنا
العيش والصبر.
مطروح يا أحلى البلاد،
مطروح يا أحلى البلاد.
بنجيلك كل مرة ونسيب عالشط ذكرى وبنحلم يجي بكرة وبنرجع للجمال.
كنا شارع وحاضر ونداك نقول له حاضر، ومن عالبعد قادر يمسكنا في الخيال.
مطروح يا أحلى البلاد،
الشمس والأمنيات
والوحي والذكريات
والناس الطيبة. الحرب كانت هنا
والحب كان هنا،
لكن فضل لنا
العشق والصبا.
مطروح يا أحلى البلاد،
مطروح يا أحلى البلاد.
مطروح يا أحلى البلاد
بالشمس والأمنية
والوحي والذكريات
والناس الطيبة. الحرب كانت هنا
والحب كان هنا،
لكن اللي فضل لنا
العيش والصبر.
مطروح يا أحلى البلاد،
مطروح
يا أحلى البلاد.
Welcome back. You're still watching Night Cruise.
Actually, now we will be having an important report. It's about a recent discovery, and actually it's by, or the announcement was made by the Ministry of Antiquities in collaboration with the Faculty of Engineering, Cairo University, and HIP Institute Paris. This is the first press release about the investigations they are doing of the project Scan Pyramids, where they found interesting anomalies in the Great Pyramid of King Cheops. Nile Cruises crew were there, I was there myself, and we brought you back the following report.
Yes, I'm watching Russia, definitely sensing this level of passion because she actually covered this report that's going to be filed to you.
Anomalies have been found in the Great Pyramid of King Cheops. The announcement was made in a press conference held by the Ministry of Antiquity in collaboration with the Faculty of Engineering, Cairo University, and HIP Institute Paris to declare the preliminary results of the first stage of the Scan Pyramids project of the Giza Pyramid.
What we have shown to you today is that we have used what we call the infrared thermography technique. This technique, this camera measures the temperature of the surface of the rocks up to 1/400 accuracy of 1 degree. What we have discovered that the whole surface of the pyramid is almost homogeneous except some points. One of the most impressive points was this point that we have showed you. This area of the pyramid localized have 6 degrees difference in temperature back to the rest of the surface of the pyramid. What could it be? We cannot say now. It needs more research on the type of the pyramid, on maybe we will adopt a new technique to use it. How can we explain it? I think this is good. This is good points for research in science and in archaeology as well.
For 2 weeks, the team of architects and scientists from Egypt, France, Canada, and Japan used infrared thermography to survey the pyramids during different times of the day and night. The survey resulted in the discovery of 4 thermal anomalies that were observed on the pyramid, 3 on the upper face of the pyramid and 1 at the base.
Alors, during 15 days, each hours, night, day, evening, we check the pyramid in infrared, and we have looked for any hotspot. And it's very difficult because the pyramid is like a radiator, big radiator. On the stone, the temperature of the stone change. Each hours, the temperature change. We must to turn around the pyramid. To get result, we have 2 technology in same time. First, infrared camera, but it's not a classic camera. It's a military camera, donc it was very difficult to entrance in Egypt with military camera. Cost $200,000. It's very expensive, and we have to modification inside, special for pyramid. It's the first reason because we have found this hotspot. But the second reason is very important. Is this little bulb on the pyramid. Because this little bulb doesn't change its temperature inside radiator, thermostat, and each each evolution, we know the temperature or skin of this bulb. When we run around the commands, we put this bulb and we put this bulb on the stone, and it's a reference temperature. Without special camera on this bulb, it was impossible to find this area.
An impressive anomaly was found at the ground on the eastern side of the Cheops pyramid.
The first layer of the pyramid, as you see, they are permanent blocks, the same shape, till this area here, where we have the difference of the temperature from this place to the other side of the pyramids. And we see here different blocks. It means we have here something new. Also, yesterday, when we discussed about this here, we found here in the middle a type of passage divided the ground in front of the east side of the pyramid and led to this place.
These temperatures could be the result of empty areas inside the pyramid, internal air currents, or the use of different material.
You see beside the two blocks some shards from stones between the two sides. It means that he has to fill place, special place. Well, we don't know until now. We have to continue our research, and I think we have to do more scan. In the next step, we have to use a muon scan, the cosmic scan, and it will help us.
This is the first stage of a series of investigations and researches, including an aerial thermal investigation.
The next step, I would like to take a helicopter, but a big helicopter, military helicopter, to fly, because my main job in first is to check the world, check the city in infrared, ultraviolet, and over technology. And I would like to survey in a helicopter with drone in infrared the pyramid. The next step. So if the government is okay.
The mission should last at least until the end of 2016. Although 4,500 years old, the pyramids of Egypt haven't yielded their secrets yet.
Now, as we have heard today, there are 4 hotspots discovered on the eastern face of the pyramid. 3 on the upper face of the pyramid and 1 here. Actually, this area here, it's 6 degrees hotter than the rest of the stones. Actually, this is a new mystery uncovered. This is Rasha Madi reporting for Nile TV International.
Welcome back, still watching Nile Cruise. Moving now to the first topic of this edition, and a striking anomaly had been detected on the eastern side of the Great Pyramid at Giza, and Technology Minister Mamdouh Damati mentioned this discovery, and the announcement came at the end of a 2-week project to scan Egypt's main pyramids in order to identify the presence of unknown internal structures and cavities. Called Scan Pyramids. The study is in its first stage and is carried out by a team from Cairo University's Faculty of Engineering and the Paris-based organization Heritage, Innovation and Preservation under the authority of the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities. Several thermal anomalies were observed in all the monuments, but one remarkable anomaly was detected in the Great Pyramid known as Khufu or Cheops. We'll be looking at this topic and maybe also a lot about the ancient Egypt and the researchers joining us, and also a writer and a tour guide, Nabil Tawfiq. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So as we agreed, we'll be having like these 2 sections. The first section will be this, speaking about this, the scanning the pyramid and this, unprecedented anomaly. And at the same time, we would like to know from your views about your researches. You have been conducting a lot of researches, and we need to find out more about that and your view on that. So let's start first with, this piece of news and this striking, an amazing thing.
Well, naturally, the whole world was fascinated with that show at the Great Pyramid, especially with the potential to find more hidden rooms. Probably hidden passageways, ventilation shafts. The Great Pyramid is still intriguing everybody. And God knows what will happen in the near future. But we know from many, many references that the Great Pyramid at Giza is the only architectural miracle which will be there forever and ever. And nobody, up to this minute, using the most sophisticated machinery, computers, cranes, could even build something much, much, much smaller than the exact scale of the Great Pyramid.
Yes.
And probably remember our last meeting a few months ago.
Yeah.
We were talking about Japan when wanted to build.
That was an interesting story. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can share it once
a
again.
miniature version of the Great Pyramid on a scale of 1 to 20. In other words, if we say the height of the Great Pyramid is almost 142 meters, the pyramid the Japanese wanted to build was 7 meters tall. And they used computers. They used laser to cut through the blocks. They used cranes. And the good thing they didn't do is that they didn't actually use mortar. So they built it exactly as the ancient Egyptians did. Blocks one surmounted by another. But the amazing thing is that it just collapsed to ground after less than 3 weeks. It crumbled to ground. The whole thing didn't last for weeks. The Great Pyramid is the mystery of all mysteries. And it's not just a subject to be discussed or explained by historians, archaeologists, but also architects, engineers.
And we're speaking here about,
astronomers.
Japan and all of this technology, and they're known for that. With this,
Comparing
vast
to what the
background.
ancient Egyptians had reached back then, it's not to be compared at all. And it's going to be the greatest mystery of mysteries.
Do you think today this is a bad thing or a good thing? Knowing that the ancient Egyptians, they were pioneers with technology and innovation back then. So, do you think today, when we are, some of leading figures are doing that, but generally we can't say that Egypt's pioneer anymore with innovation?
Well, time is a number of cycles, and that's a very important, a very crucial issue we must all know. Time is a number of cycles. Just imagine a circle which is always on the move. The tip of the circle will come to a certain point, let's say up here. It reaches the summit.
Yes.
It's not going to stop.
We'll move back.
It'll keep on moving until it hits the bottom again. Now, time, God willing, and very soon, is going to come when Egypt hits the top again.
Yes.
Time repeats itself, and that's a dry fact. The great civilization of the ancient Egyptians is going to be reborn, hopefully in the near future. Let me tell you another thing about the Great Pyramid. The four sides are facing the four cardinal points. The northern side faces the true north. Southern side faces the true south. Its eastern and western sides are orientated to the true east and the true west. That requires full knowledge and awareness of the science of astronomy. We're talking, as they say in books, 2450 before Christ. Is that true about the date of the Great Pyramid? And let me tell you from here, and it's not just my point of view, the age of the Great Pyramid is far much older than what we think. There is a famous papyrus known as the Turin papyrus, which was found by a very famous Italian excavator, Drovetti. He found it, and then it was taken to Rome. Years afterwards, after the discovery of that Turin papyrus, Sir Alan Gardner, and he's a very notorious British Egyptologist, started recollecting the and fragments of the Turin papyrus. There's a section of the papyrus of Turin and it shows a total number of years. You know, we talk about the ancient Egyptian history being divided into a pre-dynastic era and a dynastic era. Pre-dynastic era is roughly 2,000 years before the first dynasty. And when we count the numbers in hieroglyphs recorded on a piece of the Turin papyrus from the top until we come to the time of King Khufu, Great Pyramid, we count 37,000 years. I'm not making this up. This is a dry fact. And there are Egyptologists watching us. There are archaeologists watching us. And hopefully...
Who's backing this theory of, you know, the 30,000 years instead of the... Who's backing up this theory?
Well...
Is it your research? Where does it come from?
This, to tell you the truth, the very first Egyptologist who actually spoke about the 37,000 years from the beginning of the pre-dynastic period to the of King Khufu is Professor Dr. Ramadan Abdu Ali, and he's the top Egyptologist at the Mania University. In his own book, he named Egypt the land of prophets and messengers. First to refer to this, and backing him up in my own book, after I showed this piece of papyrus with 37,000 years, I took evidence using another part of the Turin papyrus. The papyrus was discovered or found by an Italian man called Drovetti.
Okay,
that's in the late 1800s.
And did he announce this, or maybe try to understand what's in it?
Nobody to this minute refers to the age of ancient Egypt. All what we know is Egypt is 7,000 years of civilization. And not in my own point of view, but it's a lot older than that.
So Nabil, why is this important in your opinion?
Because this is a new discovery. Everybody worldwide is still saying and thinking that the ancient Egyptian civilization is 7,000 years old. This is like 2015, and then we're talking about 5,000 years before the birth of Jesus Christ. So these are the 7,000 years we're talking about. But that is, in my opinion, that is simply perversion. But this has never been revealed so far.
But is that the only evidence?
So far, yes. This is the only evidence.
So this is
the
like,
papyrus of Turin, and this should be taken as a solid evidence. I personally don't have the least shred of doubt that the ancient Egyptian civilization is tens of thousands of years older than what we think.
So
and I have the proof.
Let's put it this way, if you may allow me.
Please.
It is a threat to a conclusion that might be right or wrong.
Okay.
So you started to work and research on this thread in order to reach to a solid conclusion that you might be a very strong believer in, but yet it's not an announcement or a discovery because it needs more researches from different aspects and more evidence. And I agree with you that this might be an evidence, but again, so to have this in evidence where it's becoming a discovery and conclusion, as you know, and as you are a researcher and a writer, it definitely has to go through the process of, a solid process of reconfirming the facts and gathering evidence and correlating information together in order to reach this fact. So thank you for this feedback, but I really want to go back to this, this anomaly that happened in Giza with the pyramids, and just share with the viewers, some of the things that happened throughout the scanning. Thermal measurements were carried out at different times in order to observe the pyramids during their warm-up phase from the early morning until sunrise, and during their cooling phase from the late afternoon to dawn. In the cooling phase, the heat transfer is usually happening from the inside to the outside, while in heating phase, it is the opposite. So what would this tell us about, the structure and material used building the pyramid? And you're definitely an expert
in my humble opinion, knowing that the Great Pyramid is mainly been built out of limestone, except for some of the intersections, like the huge granite blocks which are surmounting the Great Pyramid burial chamber. The Great Pyramid burial chamber, where there is an empty sarcophagus, is surmounted by huge slabs of granite. Each slab weighs 20 tons. That sophisticated infrared thermal camera, as you said, just found out or tell us that there is a difference in temperature. And as Dr. Damati just pronounced or said back at the time, it could be a reason to many factors. I think if there is an erosion in an inner sector of some of the blocks, it can be a reason to losing heat. If for one reason or another, gaps showed on between the blocks, as you know, no mortar was used back in ancient Egypt, but there's a possibility that one or two blocks had cavities or erosions which allow a passage of air or an air circulation. That could be a reason to bring down the temperature of that block. So when we're looking at the eastern side of the Great Pyramid, and probably talking about the very first 3 layers from the ground, and we show difference in the thermal images, showing anomalies or just difference in temperatures, it can be many reasons. It can be many reasons. But let me just remind you and our dear viewers that many years ago, there was that robot which was taken inside the Great Pyramid.
Yes.
And they made a hole about a foot square in a side passageway from the Queen's burial chamber, or the shaft leading to the Queen's burial chamber. And we've seen the robot going in with the camera, and we're all mesmerized when we saw another door and there's a bolt made out of brass. So we know for sure that there are cavities inside the Great Pyramid. Yes. There are passageways. Probably there are rooms. God knows. But is that it? No. There is still a lot more. And let me just tell you one thing I recall a few years ago. There was Professor Dr. Farouk El-Baz, most renowned Farouk El-Baz. When talking about the spaceships and shuttles leaving to the outer space, I recall him saying that the only way out to the outer space is from right up above the Great Pyramid. There is no exit to outer space except from up above the Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid is actually in the center of the earth. The astronomy behind it, the engineering, the mathematics, the physics is the real challenge. Not only that we're looking for hidden passageways, hidden chambers, we should do a lot of research. We must pry, and we must scrutinize and take it from all aspects. The connection between the Great Pyramid and astronomy, the connection between the Great Pyramid, which is the only wonder of the 7 wonders of the world, and physics, its connection with mathematics, and God knows.
Yes,
with what else?
True. There's a lot of aspects that we really might not know or discovered. I'd like to thank you for your insights. We'll be moving for a break and returning back with you to continue our talk. But let's move now to the... Welcome back. Still watching Nile Cruise, and we're still joined with researcher and writer and tour guide Nabil Tawfiq, speaking to us about the mysteries of the ancient Egyptians. So you had more to add to other, great things done ever since, the great Egyptians.
If we take medicine and surgery, for example, the number of medical papyri which were discovered dating back to the time of the ancient time of ancient Egypt is really countless. But again, most of them are outside Egypt, in Britain, in the UK, in France, Italy. So these medical papyruses gave us full details and lists of so many diseases and the proper cure or healing to each of these diseases. Ancient Egyptians, as surgeons, invented lots of surgical instruments we're still using up till now. And maybe if if we can show the this is actually part of a mural from
yeah, what I can see is, like, you know, different types of tools,
different types of surgical instruments. That's good. See at the very bottom, register from left to right. We see two suction cups. Following the suction cups, there's a piece of bamboo for suckling bad blood. Following to the right, we come to see a post-surgery sponge. And then we come to see two scoops and scalpels. Upper register, we come to see two forceps, which are still being used by dentists up till now. Following to the right, we come to see two anesthesia bags.
Yeah.
Anesthetics
It
were
says
common.
a lot about, you know, those tools were ever since back then, and they're used until now.
Yes, these are still being used up till now. So anesthesia bags, to the right, there are numbers of scalpels.
Yes.
Up here we see a tweezer. At the very top right side, there are needles for sewing the stitches.
Yes. Interesting that you also know these. You don't have any medicine background, but
You
you've
know,
been
let me tell
researching on
you
this.
one thing before we wrap it up. What the ancient Egyptians had reached in medicine,
You can just
considering
put it down or
some
relax your tablet.
issues. Professor doctor, and he's a close relative of mine, and he's a professor doctor at the School of Medicine, Qasr al-Aini Hospital, told me that years ago there was the Qasr al-Aini Museum. They have statues, they have royal mummies, and murals. One of them is just unbelievable because it's showing an ancient Egyptian physician standing, and in front of him we see a woman who was suffering from breast cancer. And the mural shows that woman with a completely swelled breast. And we look at the treatment of the ancient Egyptian doctor or physician. We see him holding in his hand a prism. And the mural is showing the prism. Up above the prism, it shows a star. A ray is falling down from that star vertically, and it goes horizontally, and it's pointed out towards that infected breast. The following mural is showing the doctor with a look of content
Happiness, yeah.
and happiness. So is the woman, and we look at the mural, and the breast cancer is gone. So the ancient Egyptian physician or doctor was able to treat breast
that
cancer
sounds amazing.
using stellar rays, something we haven't reached up to now. And there's a lot more mysteries.
That's
when it
that's
comes to
amazing.
ancient
Like you
Egypt.
mentioned, there's a lot of more to be discovered about the ancient Egyptians. Would like to thank you very much for joining us. It has been
My
a great
pleasure.
pleasure
Thank you
with
very
all the
much.
insights and the information.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's move now to the upcoming song with our dear guest, former guest, Rola Zaki and Aswad Baladna. So enjoy this song. I'll be returning back with more.